What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Tina Parker Show. Y'all, today we are flipping tables. I was just thinking, if Joshua was here, what would he be doing? When I dove into this topic today, it literally made me so sick. And if you are a mother, if you're a father, if you are a teacher, if you are a grandparent, you know, an aunt, an uncle, okay? Every human on this planet should be outraged. Outraged. Okay, we're going to dive into this. Joshua would be flipping these tables, okay? I'm going to share with you the timeline of America's sickness and the system behind it. Are you ready? It's big. Today we're flipping tables, not in anger. We're not going to be angry. We're just becoming more aware. We are sharing truth. Okay, this is the truth about why our generation was unhealthy and currently is. It's growing. And why today's kids are the sickest we've ever seen. If Joshua walked into America right now, he wouldn't be flipping tables in a temple. He would be flipping tables in our food industry, in our medical system, in our regulatory agencies, and the corporations that built a sickness economy on the backs of families. This isn't a conspiracy, y'all. This is a real timeline I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to share with you a paper trail, a pattern any honest person can see once they look. So today I'm giving you the exact timeline of when America started getting sick, what changed, and who profits, and the three institutions that sit behind all of it. You ready to begin? Let's go.
Welcome to the Tina Parker Show, where we burn the bullshit, speak the truth, and build brands that break chains. I'm Tina Parker, spiritual badass, truth teller, and the woman who turns pain into purpose. If you're ready to lead with fire, heal out loud, and drop the damn mic, you're home.
Okay. Y'all, I don't know if you guys know this, but I have a 20, I think he's 22 now. Okay, but when he was 4 years old, he was diagnosed with ADHD. Okay, it wasn't, I knew he was hyper. I knew he was, we used to say he's off the chain, you know, chasing him around. I didn't like to take him to grocery stores. The daycare, what happened is the daycare actually called me and said, your son can no longer come here unless you go get him help. And he was 4 years old, and I took him to the University of Utah neurology, where they look into the brain and all of that for him. And it was devastating to hear that. My child can no longer come to this daycare unless I take him into this neuro unit. And so I did. I was working in corporate, banking, and I needed to be able to work. So he needs to go to daycare. I need to get this figured out. So she gives me a referral. I go in and I learned that, I fill out all this stuff on him, and his dad fills it all out as well. It's like long, all these questions about him. And then it came out that he was, she said he's definitely diagnosed with ADHD. Well, I also have to say, tell me when you were young. I was born in the 70s. Did you know, if you were about my age, did you notice anyone that had allergies? Remember in school when they used to give us those chocolate peanut butter crisp bars? Oh my gosh, those were my favorite. Probably not so great for me, but they were one of my favorites. And I was talking to a kid at the store the other day, and he says, I saw those same things in a little container on the counter where you check out. And I said, oh, they used to serve these for lunch. And he goes, yeah, They don't serve anything like that anymore. Our food sucks. And so I said, it's probably all these allergies, right? And he was like, I guess. Well, they are. But see, I didn't know one person with an allergy when I was young. How about you? All right. If that's you and you've wondered what's going on, why are we seeing all this? What's the big push? Why do we all have to get, jabs? Why? Okay? Why is things the way they are now? I'm going to give you a real timeline, okay? The last healthy generation. So I grew up in the 70s, like I mentioned, and I didn't know one kid with a peanut allergy. I didn't know one child with autism. ADHD was unheard of. I never heard of that. We didn't have kids carrying inhalers. We didn't have EpiPens. We didn't have an autoimmune disorder in classroom. Kids they were outside at play all day. They ate real food. They weren't surrounded by chemicals. They weren't hooked on screens. They weren't drowning in inflammation. And this isn't a nostalgia, okay? This is historical facts. In 1970s, America had autism around 1 in 10,000. Okay, had autism. Obesity was under 10%, near zero peanut allergies, minimal chronic childhood illness. My mom never took us to the doctor. I mean, we got chicken pox, I remember that. Other than that, put it in the comments if you've been doing your own homework on this, okay? Almost no autoimmune disease, strong immune systems built naturally. So what happened? Let's dive into this timeline, okay? So this shift begins in the 1980s. The cracks start to form. There's three major things that happen simultaneously. The vaccine schedule expanded significantly. More shots, earlier shots, clustered shots. How many of you have taken your child in to their wellness check and all of a sudden they're like, well, they need to get 3 shots today? And I'm like, God, that's kind of harsh. Like, why does he have to get all these shots? I'm like, but I didn't know I was programmed, right? You were programmed. There's so many things about this that I wish I knew sooner, right? You probably do too. With almost no long-term safety testing on combined exposure. Processed foods exploded into the American diet. Cheap calories, high sugar, chemical additives, and industrial seed oils became the standard. Antibiotics were prescribed like candy. Destroying the gut microbiome, we now know controls immunity, development, and our mood. Everything starts in the gut, y'all. I don't know if you know this, but the brain, your gut tells your brain stuff. Okay, that's how it works. It starts in the brain, or in the gut, sorry. And so the decade planted the seeds of chronic illness slowly, quietly, without most people even noticing. We just went along with it. We didn't know. Okay, the biological collapse. Now, I will say, I was a branch manager for a credit union, and one of my tellers, I remember I would do stuff like potluck, and we would do stuff on Fridays, right? Well, I had an employee that said one of her things was that she had a peanut allergy. And so we had to be really careful about what we brought into the office. And that was the first time I had ever heard about a peanut allergy. So that was in 2002. 2002. I had never heard of a peanut allergy until her. And I thought that she was overreacting almost. I was like, peanut allergy? Who has a peanut allergy? I mean, I've never heard of that in my life. And I just thought she was kind of one of those that wants attention, you know? I didn't know. I had never heard of any of these weird things. Actually, that was about the same time that my son had to go in with ADHD. But as far as allergies, I didn't know anyone that had allergies either. And so I learned with her. She was my first. And I began to realize that it really is a thing the more I researched back then, because I learned of other people that had the peanut allergy or different allergies. They were starting to talk more about it around that time. So if you want the truth, this is the decade where the system flipped from health to profit. Okay, here's what happened in the 1990s. Autism rose from one, remember it was 1 in 10,000 in the 70s. Okay, here in, or maybe that was even the 80s. In the 90s, it went from 1,500. Oh, sorry, it went 1 in 1,500 to 1 in 500. Isn't that crazy? ADHD diagnoses exploded. Pediatricians wrongly told parents to avoid peanuts, which led to catastrophic allergy development. We had an increase of saturated glyphosate, saturated the American food system. Plastics and endocrine disruptors entered everything. Kids moved indoors. Food dyes increased. Antibiotics skyrocketed. The microbiome collapsed. The environment filled with synthetic chemicals. Pharma marketing became aggressive and predatory. This decade created the first wave of chronically sick kids. And because our environment was no longer supporting life, it was working against us. So here's where the chronic kid era started. 2000s, okay, it got really bad. By the 2000s, the sickness was no longer just, a mild issue, right? It became obvious. Autism hit 1 in 150 children. Asthma grew. Who knows people that had that skin out, issue? Eczema became common. Food allergies were everywhere. Kids had chronic inflammation. Childhood obesity soared. Teen anxiety skyrocketed. People didn't talk about anxiety back in the old days. Autoimmune disorders hit young people for the first time. Okay, listen to this. The food system was now 70% processed. Do you know what that means? That means it's modified. It's not real food. Okay, 70% of it was processed, drenched in glyphosate, filled with dyes, overloaded with synthetic preservatives, engineered with sugar and seed oils, and it lacked nutrients. Okay, they were like empty calories. Kids were malfunctioning, and the environment that environment was engineered, not accidental. They purposely did this. Wait till we're going to continue moving on, and you'll learn who the they are. Today's crisis generation. So now we're in 2010 to 2020s. Okay, look around. Today's children are sicker, more allergic, more inflamed, more anxious, more medicated, more autoimmune, more overweight, more neurologically sensitive, more hormonally disrupted. Testosterone's an issue for men. Women have their own issues. Even women's testosterone is low than any generation in American history. They're literally disrupting our DNA. Did you know that? Every time you get a vaccine, or in this food, the toxins, all the things, it is changing our DNA. And so why is this generation the worst in American history? It's because the systems that make money when we are sick have completely captured the systems that are supposed to protect us. So let's expose them. You guys ready to get into this? The capture of how corruption became normalized. So here's the part that most people still don't know. The FDA. Okay, now I heard this through another podcast yesterday, actually, and so then that got me digging in. Okay, the FDA, the institution meant to protect Americans, right? FDA is the one that approves medicine, right? Okay. The FDA institution meant to protect Americans is funded overwhelmingly by the companies it regulates. Pharma. So Pharma is funding FDA, the one that determines whether something is safe or not. Do you think if they're being funded by FDA, they are going to push it through or look at it, with strict eyes, no, they even pushed through the jab way early. Like it was unknown. They couldn't even believe. Even experts couldn't believe how fast that was pushed through. Okay? So it's just Pharma pays, it's almost 47, I think it's close to 50% of the drug approved budget. Pharma pays FDA that much. This is called user fees. That's how they code it. User fees. It means the regulation and the regulated are the same team. And that's not all they pay for. Imagine, this is good. Imagine if criminals funded the police department. That's what we have. Imagine if criminals, the thieves on the street, are the same people that fund the police department. The NIH, the largest biomedical research institution, partners financially with pharmaceutical giants, not just through giants, but through training programs, fellowships, and joint research consortia. The NIH, the foundation for NIH, takes $1 million donations from Pfizer, Roche, AbbVie, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca, Zeneca, Merck, Sanofi, Novo, Bristol Myers. You guys have heard of many of those, right? Okay. The research is co-funded, the trainings is co-funded, and the pipeline is controlled. This is not independence. This is intentional. Who are the real owners and who benefits from your sickness? So as I was putting together this, okay, I've shortened up my research into this podcast, but I was like, well, who owns Pharma? Who are the big dogs in Pharma? Okay, the companies, this is what is crazy, not just big Pharma. Who owns, here's the truth, and this hits the hardest. The companies poisoning your food. Okay, I'm going to tell you who the companies are, but this is what they own. The companies poisoning your food, and the companies selling you your medicine, and the companies buying your regulators, and the companies funding the research are owned by the same financial giants. Why are giants in the financial sector the same people that own Big Pharma, the same people that own the media, the same people that determine what gets approved? The education, you guys, this loop is so sick. It is so sick. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Those financial giants, right? You probably have your 401k in maybe Vanguard, right? Okay. These guys own all of these companies. They have your retirement. They're also dipping into your food, okay? The processed food. They've got their hands all over in their own Big Pharma. Do you see how? And what they've determined is that the healthcare system, the medical system, the pills, Everything in that space is more profitable than any of them, even financial services. Okay, healthcare is more lucrative for them. So they are ensuring that you have to keep going in. They're creating it. They are the top shareholders in big pharma, big food, big agriculture, big chemical, big media, big tech, big insurance, and big retail. They control the chemicals that harm you, the food that feeds you, the medicine that treats you, the media that informs you, the regulations that govern you. This isn't a theory. Okay, I'm not blowing smoke up your butt. Okay, this is real. This is public shareholder data. 3 institutions, trillions in assets, ownership across every sector of human health and life. This isn't about religion. It's not about ethnicity. This is about political parties. This is about corporate consolidation, about power without accountability, and profits over people. And this is why America is sick. Because sickness is profitable. And the people who profit own everything. So the system isn't broken. This is exactly how they designed it. This has all been intentional. People say our healthcare system is broken. No, it's performing exactly as intended. A healthy nation isn't profitable. A sick nation is a gold mine, especially when the companies that sell the disease are owned by the same companies that sell the cure. This is a sickness economy, and your family is the product. Y'all, I'll tell you what, I think about disease like cancer, right? And what they push to get people to, do chemo treatments and all of this. Y'all, you've got to know that they're encouraging patients. The medical system is encouraging patients to do that because there's so much money in that. You got to do your research. You've got to know that there's ways that there's preventative care, okay? The kingdom response, flipping tables. We're not helpless, okay? I want you to think about what Joshua would do if he was in these times, okay? We are not helpless. We are not powerless. We are not victims, but we must wake up. Joshua didn't walk into a corruption and negotiate. He overturned it. He confronted it. He exposed it. He reclaimed the space. And that is our calling today. Okay, we flip tables by choosing real food, protecting our kids, questioning the narrative, rejecting blind trust, building strong bodies, strengthening immune systems, demanding transparency, holding institutions accountable, reclaiming leadership and over our health. We need to take charge. Get it? Rebuilding community, stepping out of passive survival. We don't need to be passive. We need to be asking questions. We need to feel good and confident in saying no, okay, to these medical doctors. You don't have to do anything, okay? Your body, your choice. They make you think that you don't have a choice, but you do, okay? So you're going to step out of passive survival, leading with discernment and returning to truth. The future is not lost, but the future will belong to the people who see the system clearly and refuse to participate in this destruction. So I have to ask you, if you feel any anger, good, if Joshua felt, I'm guaranteed Joshua, they're looking above, we are their tools. We are, it's time to take our country back, take care of our people. Righteous anger is the beginning of change. Sometimes you have to get pissed and ready to take some people down. But stay grounded in truth, stay grounded in wisdom, stay grounded in faith. We flip tables with clarity. We expose lies with accuracy. We rebuild with integrity, and we walk forward as a generation willing to rise when everyone else is asleep. Because our kids deserve a world where health is possible again. And that begins right here. If there's anything I could have made this so long because I did so much research on this, but I tightened it up for y'all. But if you have any questions, if you need anything from me, I have a PDF guide as well, just going over the timeline. If there's anything I can do to help you, please reach out. I hope you have an incredible day. Thank you for joining. Don't forget to subscribe.